Hello, YouTube. I am very excited. And I promise I do not work for Konami, nor do I have anybody that likes me that works there. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. They probably don't watch my content. Who knows? But you might question that if you have saw the, or if you've seen the latest card reveals for a couple of decks that I am notorious for playing. There have been 2 support cards released for some of my favorite decks, or I guess decks that my identity is tied to. I made one video on it, and apparently I'm the Tistina guy somehow. So regardless, 2 support cards came out in the OCG, and we all knew this was going to happen at some point. Usually for TCG World Premiere archetypes, there is a support wave that the OCG releases. So I was looking forward to the eventual date when we got these cards. But the issue that was kind of in the back of my mind was it's not always certain that these cards that the OCG releases are going to be impactful. I think Gate Guardian is a perfect example. Gate Guardian was a TCG World Premiere archetype, and the deck was cool, but clunky. So I wasn't 100% certain that the OCG was going to make support cards that were really patching up the holes in these 2 decks that I like. However, lo and behold, we got these cards officially revealed, and I am over the moon. I think these 2 cards solve genuine problems for the Flame Swordsman and Tistina decks, respectively, that I am very excited to talk about with you today. Now, just understand, I'm not saying that these decks are going to be meta-relevant top-tier threats or even rogue threats. I just like them, and I wanted to offer my perspective as someone that has seriously played these decks at competitive events and talk about why I feel that these support cards are impactful for these decks in meaningful ways, what improvements that these cards provide these decks. So let's go through that. I'm going to start with, I'm sure, the one that most people are excited to see me talk about, which is, of course, none other than Tistina. Wahoo! All right, so the Tistina card that got released is Miasma Dragon Tistina. And the reason I like this archetype was certainly not for its gameplay, because it's terrible. I just love the artwork. I think the artwork is really cool. I think the lore behind it is neat, sort of this imposing crystallization threat that crystallizes everything it touches. I think is awesome. But anyway, enough of that. Miasma Dragon Tistina, it's a level 10 Dark Aqua with 2,000 attack and 0 defense. This card says, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Tistina monster from your deck to your hand, except Miasma Dragon Tistina. Also, for the rest of this turn, light Tistina monsters you control gain 1,000 attack. If this card is sent to the graveyard, while a card is in the field zone, you can special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon from the hand or graveyard for the rest of the turn, except Tistina monsters. You can only use each effect of Miasma Dragon Tistina once per turn. I love this card. It is so good, and it solves probably the biggest problem that was holding Tistina back from functioning at the core level at all, right? That's that Tistina had no 1-card starter. It had nothing. Demigod requires a Tistina card to be on board. Sentinel has to pop a card in order to summon, including itself, which a lot of the time made it so your Demigod didn't have a Tistina card on board to be able to summon itself from hand if you searched it. Fallen in the field spell. The field spell didn't do anything on its own. It sent a Tistina, but the only time it actually acted as a 1-card engine was if you were going second with it and your opponent had 3 face-up cards. That's what caused people to have this belief that this deck was supposed to be a going second OTK deck. And honestly, you could make that assessment if you want, but saying that it was supposed to be that, I think was just cope to this idea to, I don't know, to cover the idea that the deck was just bad. Like, it's just bad. It just didn't have any engine. So, if you remember me reading the effect of this card a few seconds ago, you'll probably cotton on to the fact that now this field spell is a starter, a genuine 1-card starter, because you can send Miasma Dragon and there's a card in the field zone, because the field spell is what sent Miasma Dragon to the graveyard. Now, this deck went from having 0 1-card starters to 10, 11. We have 3 Sentinel, 3 Fallen, 3 Field Spell, and Prosperity. Seeing as how that's 9 cards, Prosperity for 6 is usually going to find you one of these 9 cards. And then you could also play Terraforming if you wanted to add to the consistency of the deck. That would make it so you had 11 copies of the Field Spell, basically. And that starts your engine. And then there's a lot of other 2-card combos, like Breath plus a Hand Trap, or Breath plus Demigod, and or Breath plus any other name. Like, yeah, there's a lot more engine that this deck has now. It's much, much more consistent. And Miasma Dragon doesn't even lock you out of the extra deck. It just locks you for the rest of the turn after you activate its effect for Tistina names. So it doesn't cut off what I feel was an actually strong part of this deck. There's no restrictions on what you summon from the extra deck. So there's a lot of level 10s. You can make Varudris very consistently now. In fact, I'm going to show some combos where you are basically always ending on this guy. You can make Promethean Princess because Returned is a free special from hand if you control a Tistina. And you can go into Ambla Whale. So a lot of the time, depending on how much engine you have, you can do like Promethean into Ambla Whale. So you'll have like Varudris, IP, Ambla Whale, Promethean Engrave, like a lot of cool stuff if your hand is very engine heavy. It's just nice. And the other thing is we have this in the deck now, so it bridges the Field Spell as a 1-card combo. That even like slightens down our engine, so we have so much room for non-engine. This is 18 pieces of non-engine here with 14 hand traps. If I cut the Call by or a Talents, I could put in a 3rd Nibiru and make it 15. This deck list is very speculative. I'm actually recording this the day of YCS Houston, Saturday the 5th. We're all assuming a ban list is going to get announced live at Houston. I'm predicting that Talents is going to go to 1, so, all this to say, this is just speculative non-engine space. I don't even know if this build is perfect, but it's just an example to showcase. Tainted and Double Wild are in the side deck. Tainted makes the cut because Miasma Dragon has the effect where it boosts light Tistina monsters' attack values when its effect is activated, and the Field Spell staying on board when you go for the Crackback on turn 3 is super imposing. If they're left with 3 face-up cards, that'll E-Telly Crystal God out of the deck and send the other Miasma Dragon, which will special itself. So that's like, your Karma Cannon off of Crystal God plus their 2 level 10s for Gustav Liba. I don't think you need Tainted to really OTK anymore. The follow-up that this deck is going to have once you facilitate its combo and get its engine rolling is just super strong. So I don't know if this card really needs to be played anymore, which is a shame because I think it's really cool. Double Wild is another card that I'm thinking might make the cut if you need more extenders rather than loading up on non-engine like this. You can target a level 5 or lower monster you control, special summon or add a level 10 monster of the same type, then you can discard a card and special summon it. So that's just another way to get Miasma Dragon either onto the board or like out of your hand. There's just other ways that you can do it. You can also special summon it out of your hand with play if you open it. You can also normal summon it because Breath provides you an extra normal. So it is kind of bricky. You don't want to see this in your hand, but there are things you can do to accommodate that issue, because we always want an in deck to be able to send off the Field Spell, which is why we're playing 2 of it. Maybe you even play 3 to fully solidify the fact that you want to have 1 in deck, but I don't know. I don't think that really necessitates playing 3. Let's talk about some combos here and why I think this might be meta viable at the rogue level. I'm not going to say that it's going to be meta, but like top tier, but let's show what this can do with just a 1 card. So again, remember, this is a deck that went from having no 1-card starters to now having a 1-card combo that goes positive on interaction. I'll show that here. So with just the Field Spell, we have Fallen for the Field Spell, send Miasma an effect to summon, and then to search, we're going to get Sentinel. Normal Sentinel pop itself, and again, very important, Sentinel's issue prior to this support being released was that if Sentinel was in your hand or you were using Sentinel on its own, you would want to search Demigod because it's your most powerful engine piece, but Sentinel popped itself and removed itself from the board, so frequently you would have no face-up Tistina cards in order to have Demigod be summonable. Sentinel didn't have to pop itself. It could target a face-down card you control to destroy it, but a lot of the time you were popping something like a Talents you had drawn, or an Imperm. Like if you open Sentinel +4 non-engine, that was just a very bad hand because you would be getting rid of an Imperm or, I don't know, something that you really want to keep just to justify getting your engine online. And I don't know, you would like Sentinel pop something, search Demigod, try to activate Demigod, and they'd Ash. So you just lost a piece of non-engine for no reason, and you also just have a Sentinel there. You've ended on nothing. So, but now we don't have to worry about that. We've got our 1-card combo still going. We have Demigod. Demigod is going to summon and search at the same time for play. We're going to use Sentinel Graveyard Effect because we control a Light Tistina, so we can summon it. We're going to link those two off for IP. We're going to use play, summon back Demigod, and then overlay the 2 level 10s for Varudris. Because remember, Miasma Dragon doesn't lock us out of anything in the extra deck. It just locks us out of things being summoned from hand or grave. That is this 1-card combo. That's an example of what you're trying to do with just the field spell. And look, it's not the greatest end board in the world. It's certainly not like Appaloosa, Baronne de Fleur, 40 Gorillion negates, but it is positive on interaction, right? We have Varudris to negate and destroy something. We have IP Masquerena to link itself and the Varudris off to go into SP Little Knight to banish something. And on the follow-up, we have Divine Domain to send another Miasma Dragon to summon it, search another Demigod, and then, you know, who knows? They might even have 3 cards during the end of their combo after you've interacted with them. You know, you'll be able to summon Crystal God from deck to make your OTK push even stronger. So it's really, really nice that 1 card does this. The combo is a bit more flexible if you open more engine, and I want to show just one example. I haven't fleshed these lines out all the way in my head. I'm sure there's even better things you could be doing. But what's cool about this is if you open Divine Domain and already have the Sentinel or Demigod, you can use the Miasma Search for Returned instead to make Varudris earlier to insulate yourself from Nibiru. So let's showcase that. We're going to activate the field spell, send Miasma. Miasma's going to summon, and it'll search to get Returned here, because we already have Sentinel. We're going to use Return to summon, target, and Returned. The way Returned works is you target a Tistina monster you control, you can special return from the hand, and it will copy the level of the target. So return becomes a level 10, so we can just go into Varudris now, and then start doing the Sentinel line. Sentinel pops itself, get Demigod. We control a Tistina card for the field spell. So we'll use this effect, summon itself, search play, activate Sentinel Engrave, link off for IP, set play. So with this, we get to use the play to summon back something during our opponent's turn, which we can use IP to make SP with. And we get to keep the Varudris this time, which is nice because we will be able to push with this if it has any material left. We get an effect to pop when we attack something, so it just makes our combo a little more insulated to Nibiru because we get to make this earlier, and it makes our push on turn 3 even stronger because we get to keep the Varudris. So really cool. I like 1-card combos that are good on their own. They set up, you know, they go positive on interaction. And if you open multiple pieces of engine, it's not too redundant because you have an additional thing to search, which improves your end board. That's very important for decks in the modern metagame to be able to have that type of option. What do I think about this? Is this going to be like the most meta-relevant deck of all time? I don't know. I mean, I hate to just call something bad because the deck used to be so bad. I think this really is a meaningful update to the deck that fixes just the core functionality of it. I think it's really cool. I'm just very excited for it. I will definitely be tinkering around with it. I'll be playing it in paper as soon as this card gets in my hands. You know my Tistina cards are going to be sleeved up. You know I'm going to be putting those QCR Demigods on a playmat and going to some tournaments. So I'm very excited. All right, so we talked a little bit about Tistina. I want to talk about one of my favorite decks of all time, Flame Swordsman, and another piece of support that I am super excited for. It's just, I'm over the moon. This card right here, Dark Flare Swordsman, fixes up and supports really what this deck needed to focus on. This is a deck that I had played pretty recently. Prior to the Blue Eyes structure deck coming out, I had been playing this a lot, going to local tournaments and box and case tournaments. I've gotten some pretty decent results with this deck prior to the support and playing it in this control fashion. Once I learned that Soul of the Supreme King plus a Book of Moon style effect interaction, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect because Swords Dance and Soul of the Supreme King is an excellent 2-card combo. But anyway, all that to say, we're not talking about that. We already know that. We're going to talk about this new card. So this right here is Dark Flare Swordsman. This is a retrain of the Dark Flare Knight, I think. When was that card? All right. Yeah, so Dark Flare Knight. This was the boomer card that the Dark Magician and Flame Swordsman fusion that summons Mirage Knight from deck. It's a level 6 Fire Warrior with 2200 attack and 800 defense. So first and foremost, you take no damage from battles involving this card. You can only use each of the following effects of Dark Flare Swordsman once per turn. You can send one Flame Swordsman or monster that mentions it from your extra deck to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot declare attacks for the rest of this turn except with warrior monsters. awesome. It's an extender that sends the fusion materials for Ultimate Flame Swordsman from your extra deck to the graveyard. That is so, so important. It dumps the Fighting Flame Dragon right to the grave, so that way it is accessible via the Salamander with Chain to fuse, and it has it engraved so you can start equipping it to like your OG Flame Swordsman if you just need to push for some little chip damage more effectively, because this card is crazy. It allows your warrior fusions, so your Flame Swordsman or your Ultimate Flame Swordsman, to double attack, which is nice, and it gives it 700. You can dump something from the extra deck, Flame Swordsman card, basically, to summon it, and then it has a quick effect. You contribute this card, special summon one monster that mentions Flame Swordsman from your deck, except a level 6 monster. So, really, that just means you can't do it self. Your targets for this are Fighting Flame Swordsman, Salamander the Flying Flame Dragon, and Mirage Swordsman. Now, also, important thing to note, that does not, this card does not restrict you from attacking with the things that you summon. So this can declare an attack for 2200. You can use this quick effect to tribute itself, and then summon Mirage Swordsman to attack for 2800. So that's 5k right there. Just with itself, it does that much damage. That matters. I've been doing some test games with this deck after the support. Really good. That comes up quite often. What does this provide to the deck? Obviously, it sounds very good. Flame Swordsman is a deck that doesn't make an end board, okay? As you can see here, there's a lot of end board supplements in this deck, right? It's not necessarily the interactions that this card is providing. It is the setup that this card is providing to the deck. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. So this is with just Dark Flare Swordsman. What we're going to do is we're going to activate its effect to special, and we're going to send the Fighting Flame Dragon, and then we're going to use this effect to tribute itself and special summon Fighting Flame Swordsman from the deck. When this card is summoned, it searches a spell trap that mentions Flame Swordsman. So we're going to get the Realm, we're going to activate the Realm, we're going to use the Realm to summon the Flame Swordsman, we're going to use the Fighting Flame Swordsman to send the Salamander. Salamander's going to get Chain, and then we're going to set Chain, and we can equip to the Flame Swordsman just to have it on board if we want to, if we don't have like a handful of spell traps, which we typically do usually when I play this deck. I don't have the room in my spell trap zones to re-equip this card. Doesn't really matter. All it does is it provides 700 attack, and it could go to the grave again to search another Salamander with Chain. Let's talk about what this does, all right? This is my typical end board with this deck regardless, because Salamander with Chain is a non-once per turn, non-targeting Book of Moon effect. Targets a fire monster on the field to become an equip spell that gives us, or equip card that gives us 700 attack, but during the resolution of that effect, it non-targeting Book of Moon's a card. So the important thing here is that we have an extra copy of Fighting Flame Dragon in the grave. So during the gameplay loop of a turn, we will be able to Salamander with Chain, book something, and then we can use either the Flame Swords Realm to tribute the Flame Swordsman off, or we can link summon something out of the extra deck, getting the Flame Swordsman to the grave, which in turn will get the Salamander with Chain to the grave. And we have a Fighting Flame Dragon engraved to be able to more easily access our Ultimate Flame Swordsman, which that thing, once you get that thing on board, it does a ton of damage. It represents 14k, basically, because it can attack twice with a Fighting Flame Dragon, or it can even just attack once, and it boosts itself over 8,000 or around like 7,000. Just depends on how many equip cards you have, and if you're using the Flame Swords Realm to boost it. There's just a lot. Ultimately, it just means that once Ultimate Flame Swordsman is hitting the board, you are going for game. It is a huge push. That was an issue that this deck had a lot of the time. Off of one card, you weren't really able to guarantee that a Fighting Flame Dragon would be hitting the grave, but now with Dark Flare Swordsman, it's always going to be there, so you are much more often threatening Ultimate Flame Swordsman hitting the board and making that push for game. So super excited about that, but that's sort of the weaker one-card combo. There's a bit better of a one-card combo that I can show you, which is if you open Fighting Flame Swordsman. Conceptualize this as a control deck. We're not making big end boards. We're not ending on the Ultimate Flame Swordsman as our boss monster to be a Dryden. I actually think it's really bad to do that, which I've explained in a prior video. If you end on Ultimate Flame Swordsman in your end board, you're really making yourself weak to talent. There's nothing that protects the Ultimate Flame Swordsman from spell cards or something like that. So even though it is a monster pop, I actually think it's more beneficial to use your search on the Salamander with Chain as a non-targeting Book of Moon rather than like the equip spell to go into it off of the 1-card combo. I just think that card is so bad anyway. And I think a Book of Moon style effect is better than a destruction. Because yeah, like non-targeting Book of Moon, crazy. So let's show what this does, how it improves the Fighting Flame Swordsman combo. So we're going to start with normal Fighting Flame Swordsman, get Fighting Flame Sword here. We're not going to get the Realm, actually. So we're going to get the Quick Play spell, and the Quick Play spell is going to allow us to search the new card. We're going to use Dark Flare to send the OG. So this is important because I'm not using Fighting Flame Swordsman's search on Realm. I'm using it on the Quick Play to get the new guy instead. So we have to get the original Flame Swordsman in rotation somehow, and this is how I'm going to be doing it. So we then use Dark Flare Swordsman's effect to tribute and special the Salamandra. We're going to link these two off for Ferocious Flame Swordsman. Yes, I am playing this card, and I'm going to explain why. Both of these graveyard effects will trigger. We're going to send the Fighting Flame Dragon off of Fighting Flame Swordsman as Chainlink 2. Then we're going to use Chainlink 1 to search Salamander with Chain. And then we're going to use Salamandra to equip to the Ferocious. Ferocious gives all warrior monsters on the field 500, so it's at 18, plus the Salamandra boosting it by 700, so it's at 25. And we have searched the Salamander with Chain. Again, not like a crazy end board, but we're a control deck. And let me explain how this board really controls the game here. Okay, so during your opponent's turn, what this card represents, and I should explain what this does. It's 2 monsters with different names. All warriors on the field gain 500. If this link summon card is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can target one non-link warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. At some point during the opponent's turn, we're going to have Salamander with Chain as our interaction to be able to non-targeting book a card, but they're going to push through this board a little bit. Again, we're going to have a lot of trap cards back here because that's what this deck does if we're going first. And then the Salamander with Chain and the Ferocious Flame Swordsman and the Salamandra monster are going to go to the graveyard. So there's going to be some triggers here if this is destroyed by battle. So the Salamandra is going to activate, and we're going to do the Ferocious Flame Swordsman. And the Ferocious Flame Swordsman is going to, remember, its effect when it's destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect is going to summon the Dark Flare Swordsman. Now, the Dark Flare Swordsman, what gets summoned off of Ferocious Flame Swordsman is banished when it leaves the field, but it doesn't matter because this effect doesn't have to go to the graveyard to summon from deck. It just has to tribute itself. So we're going to special summon this back. So during the opponent's battle phase, we're going to get the effect to search. We're going to use the effect to tribute this. It'll be banished. And we're going to summon Mirage Swordsman, okay? So Mirage Swordsman has an effect that when it is destroyed by battle or card effect other than its own, it will be able to float into a monster that mentions Flame Swordsman. So we have blocked one attack with the Link monster. So we're going to summon Mirage Swordsman out. So let's say Mirage Swordsman gets destroyed. That's going to activate to be able to summon Fighting Flame Swordsman. So Fighting Flame Swordsman is going to activate to search on summon, which is going to get us our quick play spell to have our turn 3 be even stronger. Then Fighting Flame Swordsman is going to activate when it's destroyed, if it is destroyed, to send the Fighting Flame Dragon. So now we have 2 Fighting Flame Dragons in the graveyard, plus we have Salamander with Chain. So Salamander with Chain could activate here to, during the opponent's battle phase, banish itself, shuffle back Fighting Flame Dragon and Flame Swordsman to summon Ultimate. Then we could use our additional Fighting Flame Dragon to equip to the Ultimate, and then pop something during the opponent's battle phase. And then during the end phase of that turn, the Salamander with Chain would resolve to pop the Ultimate Flame Swordsman, which would then trigger the Mirage Swordsman to float, so then we would have that at the start of our turn. And then we would still have the Fighting Flame Sword and the Salamander with Chain in hand. So it just represents a very grindy, hard to push through board. They would have to remove something. They would have to remove the Ferocious Flame Swordsman with a banishing effect, which you could. There's SP Little Knight and cards to do it, but that's a lot harder to make when my deck is full of searchable in archetype Book of Moons that prevent the opponent from link summoning. It's super important that this card got released. I think it's awesome. It makes your 1-card combos really strong. It insulates you with 2-card combos. There are additional things you can get in rotation if you open like this plus an engine piece. It's great. Like, Mirage Swordsman is not the greatest card, But the fact that it's more accessible in engine now with a good engine piece means a lot, right? When you are playing a control deck, you want cards that keep you in the game and make it so it's harder to kill you throughout a gameplay loop. And this card, summoning itself whenever a fusion dies, floating into another engine piece, which gets you another search, that matters so much. So this card just solves a lot. It's weird to talk about a control deck in the speculative, like, end board sense, because that's not how you evaluate what a control deck does. I'm excited to play this too. I think this card really solves a lot of problems. I think the fact that it is an additional engine piece, additional consistency to get you to the only engine piece that really matters, which is Fighting Flame Swordsman, is great. I think the fact that it also pushes for an aggressive amount of damage without needing to make the Ultimate Flame Swordsman is so great. Like, 22 quick effect tribute into 28 is so cool. Like, it's just, boy howdy, I'm just very excited, everybody. So that's what I wanted to bring to you today, just to talk about these cards. Like I said, in the perspective of somebody that has played these decks, why I think these cards are important, how they bolster the way I play these decks. You know, I think that's, I don't want to say that my way of playing these decks is the best way to do so. I'm just excited because they really do support how I enjoy playing these archetypes. So leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me your thoughts on these cards. Tell me how you think you're going to try to play these. Like, I typically don't play the Infernoble version of this deck, but if you think this card makes the Infernoble version really strong, then I want to hear about it. You know, like I said, I don't know if I'm the perfect deck builder with these decks. So if there's something that could be done outside of just the trap card Zark control build, I want to know. And if you think that there's other ways to make the Miasma Dragon Tistina card viable, then please tell me all about it. I hope you enjoyed this assessment. I'm going to be doing this a lot more when support for these decks comes out and other decks that I enjoy comes out. I love making these styles of videos because this is what makes me love Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy support. I love Legacy support. So anyway, with all that being said, peace out. I'll see you in the next one.